Hello, my name is Duncan Foley and this is Booklet tutorial booklet 5 for beginners. This is quite a complex tutorial. It's the only one we do that uses the fluids part of FlexSim, and it is quite in depth and quite easy to make mistakes or forget to do changes. So I'm going to do it um, as I usually do, reasonably quickly. If there's mistakes, I don't think that's a bad thing because I think it'll allow us to problem solve and stuff. So going through very quickly, we've got usual sources, but it's item to fluids. And what I mean by item to fluids, it may be a solid block of chocolate that is turned into a melted chocolate, goes through pipes, goes into tanks. We've got two production lines, a red and a blue. They go to a mixer, fluid processor, fluid to item, so it's been then mixed and made into Mars bars or whatever, and then conveyed off. So it's quite wordy is this tutorial, but that's what it basically looks like. Two sources, items to fluids and piping, and then to a tank, and then to a mixer, and so forth. The top left-hand corner, you can see this little ticker. You get that every time you start putting in fluid models and stuff, so you can move it to the side, just don't delete it. I'm not convinced it's that helpful to look much further through the tutorial, but you can see the direction it's going from this fluid. We are going to change the look of the pipes a little bit. It's just a visual thing. We're going to change some colors. Where there's a problem with versions, I'll try my best to remind and tell you. This is when we create pipe work, we're going to have three sections, 1, 2, 3, and we bend them. And I always tend to do this slightly wrong, but again, it might not be a bad thing. And it becomes a little bit confusing around here when we start opening and closing valves for us tanks and stuff, particularly this section, remembering to close the output valve and stuff. So hopefully I'll get it right first time, but if I don't, then it's not a bad thing. So that's a rough idea what we're going to do. Actually, we're not going to have a straight pipe there. We're going to have a similar bend from these objects. And you can just see a little blue and red bar there. That's sort of a gauge. For some unknown reason, FlexSim puts a gauge at the back, so we'll move them to the front. Hopefully we'll get this right. It is quite a complex one, easy to make mistakes. So I'm going to move over to FlexSim now. Okay, we're at FlexSim. I'm going to change seconds to minutes and say OK. I'm going to scroll right down, probably to the bottom. There we are, fluids, and there we go. So I should have stayed at the top to produce the two sources. So I have source 1, hold down the F key, and I have source 2. Then we go back down to the bottom, and I need an item to fluid. So item to fluid. For that production line, hold down the F key and create another one. You can see this ticker's come in. It drops it straight to the middle. I find it slightly distracting, so I tend to just move it to the side. Then we need some pipe work. So I just want a standard fluid pipe. There we go. And I'm going to change them in a minute. And I know I need 4 of these, so I'll just put another one there and another one there. Okay, and now I need, so it's going to go to from the item to the fluid through the pipe work, and it's going to then go to the fluid tank. So there we go, fluid tank. Let's put it up here a bit. Hold down the F key and have another one here. So the pipe work is going to come here, and then it's going to come out this one, and then we're going to have the fluid mixer. This one off, going down the production line, and then we're going to have fluid to item, fluid to an item, and then we're going to go slide up and just got a straight conveyor. Zoom out a little bit and put a sink at the end. Okay, let's join it all up a bit. So we know we're going to go from source using an A key, item to fluid. I don't think that worked. There we go. And then to the pipe, that pipe to the fluid tank, back to this pipe, and pipe to the mixer, and I'll carry on with the next production line. Moving along, and you can see that actually the little measures are at the back, which we will move. I don't think that worked. Come on, there we go. And finally, there we are. Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks okay. Right, let's start setting this model up. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. So I'm going to try my hardest to get it right. So let's configure the sources. So we click on source 1. And we're going to do flow item, and we're going to use a transporter. Have I forgotten a transporter? Yes, I have. So let's just apply it and OK. Go and get an operator. And remember, when you connect an operator and using them transport, you need to connect them to the object using an S key. So let's just get that there. And I want it there as well. What I'm going to do is maybe move these just a little bit back so we can actually see some movement from this this operator. Come on, where are you? There you go. Let's push you right back there so we can see some movement. So let's just make sure I've clicked on source 1, go to flow tab, and it's use transporter. It's taking the center port connection, and we know that if we go to general and go to center port, there it is. If I click, I'll just go back to flow. I'll click on the next, it'll go to the next source, source 2, and it's using the center port as well. Right, so apply it and OK. It doesn't seem to be setting the item type, so we'll carry on for now. So let's double click on the item type to fluid. We're going to go to the general tab. I'm going to change the first drop down color to blue. And say apply, go to the next one, and this is flow item type 2. If I'm honest, sometimes these don't change over. You can see actually on item type 1, and yeah, it's blue there, and yeah, it's red there. So it's just click away, and that looks right. Might have to come back to that just in case. Seems to be a little bit of a bug inside FlexSim, and they don't seem to have solved it in 2020. Right, moving on. So we're still on the item to fluid actually. So we've done the colors. So we're in the unit settings, and we want to look at the discrete units per flow item and discrete units per flow item and change that to 10. This tells the item to fluid to create 10 gallons of fluid for each flow item that enters. So you've got this big block of chocolate and it creates 10 gallons or whatever you might be. Change the maximum object rate. So the maximum object rate to 2. Change the maximum port rate to 2. And the maximum content to 20. Okay, and let's repeat that for the flow item 2. So content 2, 2 and 2, and change that to 10. Okay, that seems to be. So click on apply and OK. Let's just click on the pipe. And we want the maximum content to be 20. And the maximum flow rate to match the flow rate of the item to fluid, and that was 2. And the layout is currently one section, just straight. Let's add another section. This is where the slight confusion comes in. You think you want to bend copy section 1, but you don't. You need to go to back 1 and then change the angle. And let's try 90. That seems okay. And then add another one, then go back 1, and let's change this to just 90, send it wrong way, and it's minus 90 then. There you go. So it's changing there. Let's apply that. We're in fluid pipe 1, so if I click on the next one, it should take me to fluid pipe 2. Let's make sure all the settings are the same. So maximum content is 20, and the maximum flow rate is 2. Go to the layout, create 3, click on the first one, probably minus 90. Yeah, go to the second one, might be plus 90, we'll see, and that looks okay. So let's apply that and say okay, and let's double click on this fluid tank. And under input ports, we want to change the maximum object rate and to 2, and the maximum port rate to 2. And now we need to go to the marks tab. So we want to know where what's the lowest, middle, and high markers. So change the low markers 1, just leave the mid marker alone, and change the highest marker to 45. Now this is where a lot of students go a little bit wrong. So so we want to click on the plus sign next to pass mark. What do you want to happen when it gets too low? So click on there, and we want to do something, either open or close a port. And we want to close the output port and in either mode. So there we go. And then what would happen if it's got too full? So let's go again and close and open ports. And we want to, if it's too full, we want to open an output port and leave it as rising. And click on apply and OK. Let's do that again. So let's make the maximum sorry, the maximum object rate is 2. The maximum port rate is 2. Markers. And the low is 1 and the high is 45. And we want to, if it gets too low, we want to change this to close output port. So close output port. Change that to either. And now we want to, if it gets too full, we want to open output port and leave it as rising. And apply and say OK. Right, we've got some more piping to do. So let's double click on this pipe work, do the settings first. So the maximum content is 10. Can't remember if we set the other one to others to 10. Let's change, where's number 3? Number 3 at the bottom. Yeah, it is. So that should be 10. Go to the layout. So where are we? So we need to, which one am I doing? This one here. So let's add 3 and possibly 90. Nope. No. I should have tapped 900 anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I didn't mean that. I'll try, see what happens. I'll come back to that. Yeah, and then it should be minus 90. There you go. So it's going to come out along and go along. Right, let's go to the previous one. Sorry, not the previous one. Number 4. Add 2 and change that to possibly minus 90. Yep. And then the next one to plus 90. Okay, and just check that that's 10. I just want to check if I changed the other ones to 10. Yes, I did. Oh, 20. Is that right? Yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's apply an OK. Let's just going down the line. So let's click on the fluid mixer. We've got a steps tab. Under the mixing steps, change the number of steps to 2. Update. So you can type in any sort of comment here. I'm just going to write something 1. So you want to delay for nothing. Let's see if I can do copy paste. Something 2. So there's, and we want 10 there. So we've set the delay for step 1 to 0, and we've set the delay for step 2 to 10. What do these steps mean? So let's go to the this side, the mixing side, and we want 2 in there. And we want something coming in from port 1, something coming in from port 2. We want 10 units from port 1 and 20 mixing from port 2. It's sort of akin to a combiner, this, I suppose. And it comes from step 1, step 2. We could call this material 1. Copy and material 2. Come on, let me in. There we go. So for material 1, change the, so we've changed the port to 1 and material 2, yes. And we've got everything, yeah, that's fine. So the mixing level in display, which we've talked about before, is usually set to the back, and we want to bring it to the front. So let's click on the fluid level display tab and change the Y for the move to 1. Let's see if we can see this happening as we do it. So you can see it's at the back there. If we then change it to 1, it should jumps to the front. So hopefully we'll see blue and red appearing on there. Click apply and OK. Double click on the fluid mixer. The fluid mixer's default settings will work well for this model. It will receive material from input port 1, process it for a certain amount of time, and send it to port out of port 1. The amount of time it spends processing is based on the maximum content. So we've got maximum content here, and the maximum output rate. So that is the flow item. Actually, sorry, that's the fluid. So let's go to the fluid. Actually, we've forgotten something, haven't we? We should have another object in there. So let's just move that up there, and let's hold down the Q key. So let's drag that in there. So we've got the fluid to item, which should be there. So I've actually, let's connect that to there. Hold down the Q key, and we're missing something. So let's go down to the bottom. Let's add a fluid processor. There we go. And we connect that up. So there we go. Right. Right, let's check. So this is a fluid processor, and it's here that the maximum content is based around the maximum output rate, and everything's fine with that. You might decide that if you want the display again, it's at the back, you could push it to the front. But we don't have to do any changes there. Let's double click the fluid to item, and on the fluid to item tab, so with fluid to item tab, under output, so where are we? Flow item output, which we want to define how much fluid it represents one item. So fluid per discrete unit is 10. So I'm going to do it that way. So this tells the object that it can only collect enough material for one flow item, because if the value is high, the flow item may end up acting as a queue, so create too much storage space in the model. So let's apply that, save, and cross his fingers, reset, run. What should be happening eventually, we should see our little man start moving. Where is he? There we go. Come on, there we go. So we've got blue, red pipes. So the pipes aren't working particularly well, which is a bit frustrating. Right, what I'm going to do is solve things as they go along. So I want that to be red. So I'm just going to click down on there and click blue. and let's change that to blue. Reset run. Speed it up a bit. Red. It's going in here. Coming out. Is it coming out? It's not coming out. Oh, there we go. And we got the mixer filling up. I'm a bit conscious that normally these conveyors are really fast, so let's just double click on that. And the conveyor, click on there, it's 60 meters a minute. I'm going to drop that right down so I can see the parts coming off. Oh, that's not to say they are coming off, it just means eventually, if we get that far, they might come off. So what's happening here? Doesn't look as though we're getting anything at this moment in time, so I've made a mistake somewhere. Let's just double click on there and move that display to the front. And, oh, didn't mean to do that. That doesn't look as though it's getting anything. So it looks like the fluid processor is blocking. Look. Let's just click on it and make sure we're not getting anything. So we actually are getting stuff. Can you see? That's got an input value of 28. There we go. It's going. It's because it's going so fast that we're not. So let's move that right down to 0.2. Apply. OK. Let's reset and run. Nope. If you ever do that, you can always go to view reset. Let's run the model. Run it quickly so we can get this person. So again, blues and reds. Red, it's coming out of here eventually. It does seem to take a long time. I'm going to check that in a second. So that's the mixing, and there we go. We start getting it. I just need to check my fluid tank that I've got the settings correct there, because it just seemed to take a little bit of time to come out. So let's stop that. Seems to just move that there. Because all the settings are the same, I would have expected the pipes to fill up at the same. But let's just check. Marks. That's fine. Nothing else really. I'll bring that to the front. Okay, let's apply. Reset run. I suppose it would start earlier because this person is going to go to one of these sources first. It can't do both at the same time. So eventually when he does kick in, press run, he's gone to the red one first. And so he seems to be working a little bit more towards the red. And eventually we get it coming out, filling up. Then it does the processing, and then it converts the fluid to a solid, and then we start getting solids. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I hope that tutorial was useful to you guys. It is the only one we do that is a fluid to item one, but thanks a lot for listening.